Hey everybody and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the basics of adding a dark mode toggle in HTML, and I will include the source code. So let's jump straight in. Now, if you're sensitive to light, you may want to adjust your settings or maybe not even watch the video, just depending on how it affects you, because I will be switching between a dark and white background pretty frequently in this video. Now, jumping straight in, you'll see that we have the welcome to my website text, and then really just some generic content. Now, these features highlight the things that this dark mode will do, or we can call it night mode as well. So you'll see when we click dark mode, it now switches to a black background with white text, and then it alternates back. Now, a couple of key things for this is you'll see if we switch to dark mode, and then let's just say we want to go ahead and close it. So we'll minimize this. We can open up a ChatGPT window with some code, for example. We'll close that. Now we'll open it up and you'll see it's still in dark mode. Now if I switch to light mode, maybe I want to refresh a couple times, I can close it again. You'll see we have the source code library pulled up, which I'll share shortly. And if we click it again, you'll see now it's back in light mode. So it will persist across browsing sessions. So basically, let's jump into the code. So there's two ways to get it. If you want the quick and easy route, you can go through ChatGPT, but you can skip this portion. It'll take about 20 seconds if you're interested in just getting the code from my website. Now, basically, you can just ask ChatGPT for the content, and you'll see that it'll provide a single text box with some basics on the actual code itself. Now, I didn't specify things like local storage, so that could be something that you may want to do as well. Now, if you want to get the code yourself, you can head on over to codelessfix.com. There's no cost for this. You just go to the coded apps section and you can click source code library. Then you'll be able to view all of the content here. And when you scroll to the top, night mode is right here and you'll see that content. So we also have the source code library pulled up in this window. Now let's go ahead and look at the actual content in a Notepad document. So in the styles CSS, you can ignore the title. You do not need a CSS file for this specific code. So this code here is literally just the content for the actual plain dark mode toggle. This one has all of the text from my page. You'll see this content here, which was also generated by ChatGPT. So for the sake of looking through the code, I just want to look at the plain HTML, which is what you would get from that source code library I was just at. So you'll see we start out, and this would just be in a standard index.html file. And you'll see all of this content here. So you'll see the basics that we've had in most videos that I've been covering. Now, this is the title of the page, not the title of the actual button. Then you'll see here a couple of things to note for dark mode. Firstly, transition timing. You want to make sure that you're kind of working with your audience and choosing something that makes the most sense. But if you wanted to, you could adjust this, and we'll take a look at adjusting some of this in a moment. Now, you'll see the styles. Now, these are important because we have the styles that we've called out here for light mode, and then for dark mode. The thing you need to make sure of is that you're comparing text, images, and all of your content to make sure that it's visible as you're switching between the modes. Now, this portion here you can adjust based on your needs. The main thing to focus on, as you can see as we're scrolling through, is when you have these elements where there's a period and then some of this orange text here. So for example, you'll see that we have this effect here. So if you want, you can highlight the text, and then in most document editors, you may be able to either search for it, or you can just highlight certain parts and see where that appears. So in this case, if we highlight button, you'll see that it appears in several different areas. So what we're going to do is, you'll see we can kind of ignore most of this, but the main thing to note here is the elements of the button can be adjusted. Maybe you just want it to be a little switch instead. You can change that yourself. Now, continuing to scroll through, you'll see we've now begun to get to the portion where, again, things change just a bit. So this is the hover effect. You can see within the brackets the details of this. You'll see that this officially closes out the style section. Now, you'll see we have a couple of things like the button class equals. If you ever get confused and you're new to HTML or code in general, with most text editors, when you're going through, if you're not sure if something's HTML code, if it's something you can change or can't, you can usually just make sure that you're saving copies and making your edits, and then you can revert back if you need to. Another thing you can do, like I was doing earlier, you can double click certain portions if you want to know, okay, is this defined somewhere? Maybe it's a variable and I can rename it. Do I need to rename it everywhere it exists in the document? What is it? And you can kind of get an idea, okay, this line 49 is the first place this appears, and then you can kind of work backwards and see and learn a little bit more about it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to skip the commented out portions, and you'll see that once we get to this script section, we have this function to toggle light mode and dark mode. Now, for me personally, if and else if or if else statements can be a little bit confusing because sometimes you can use them in a positive way, like if this, then this. But you can also use them in like a negative sense of if it's not this, then this, and if it's not this, then this. So they can get a little bit confusing. So for example, you'll see it says if is dark mode, and then we have the brackets here saying basically what we're going to do. And then we have else, and then it's basically if this is not true. So it's either if this, then this, or if anything else, then this. So basically you can switch or read through, but I would be very careful if you're going to modify this logic because you'll see the important elements listed here. So we're removing dark mode, and if you have any questions about what this is, you can, as we know, double click and see where that text appears elsewhere. So in this case, you can see where that mode comes from. So we've outlined body class for light mode. You'll see that we have our body for dark mode, so you get a general idea or sense of it. Now, as you're scrolling through, basically we have those two things set. And you'll see we've set it to local storage for the theme. So that's how it's persisting across browsing sessions. But there's a couple of things that happen. So when you're setting this, you're removing a class list, adding a class list, toggling the button, and setting local storage. So basically, the way you can think about this is when you hit the button, we're kind of resetting. We're taking away the old, adding in the new. And then we're changing out the button, because the button's color would need to change or become a new button, essentially. And then we're setting the current item to dark mode. So next up, you'll see that we have an event listener for the button, basically just saying, what's happening? It's a click. Here's what we're doing. Now we have the load saved theme from local storage, which I don't see a reason for most people to feel the need to remove this. This does not persist across every session. If a user were to clear local memory, this would reset for them. But the general idea is, again, this is how you can persist across browsing sessions. So I hope this was helpful. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of things really quickly as far as making some basic changes. So I mentioned earlier this transition color, or the background color times. So you can do a couple of things here. So we've already kind of gone through this together, but you can set and change things to be whatever you think makes the most sense. So if you wanted to have a less dramatic effect, we can refresh the page and you'll see that that transition is a little bit smoother. And you can really work with this in whatever way you see fit. So a dramatic example, we'll set one to 5.3 seconds and the other one to 1.3. Or to make it a little different, let's just make it 2. Now, when we go back to our window and we refresh, you'll see switching to dark mode takes a very long time, and then switching to light mode, a little bit quicker. So that's just a couple of examples. Again, you can scroll through and adjust your light mode styles, your dark mode styles. So you'll see we have these colors set up here. You can look online to get a color picker so that you don't have to actually type out these numbers, it's a little bit more annoying to have to do it that way. But you can use the color picker, and then it'll allow you to choose a specific color and then say, here's what that would look like. And then again, you can adjust some other things here relating to the button, the toggle options, all of that. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.